Good morning. It is July the 14th. And we had kind of a wild night last night, thunderstorms. Lots of thunder and lightning. Power was out briefly, which I knew because my uninterruptible power supply for my upstairs computer has a nasty habit of beeping when the power goes out. So you always know when the power goes out. Unfortunately, it was 3 o'clock in the morning when the power went out. I had to get up and turn that off. And it rained all night. Rained all night the day I left. The weather, it was dry. The sun so hot I froze to death. Susanna, don't you cry. Sorry, I couldn't help but sing that once I'd said it rained all night. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. I come from Mama with the banjo on my knee. I know that song. We did it. Oh, what was that? I got some sort of warning message. Am I still connected? I hope so. Well, if not, this will be a recording only, but I think I'm still connected. I hate it when I get that message. It's like something flashes on the screen, but it's too briefly for me to actually see what it said, so I don't know if it said I'm disconnected or what that was. So if you're on YouTube this morning, please let me know so I know you're there. Anyway, this is the walk I usually do on Monday along the creek, but I'm going to do it today because I didn't do it Monday. Monday's when I walk back from the university. Also, it's a pleasant temperature now, and it's going to be in the 30s later, so it is sprinkling a little bit, but it doesn't look very threatening, so I don't think I will get very wet. Might get a little wet because it is sprinkling. Got a lot of editing, publishing stuff to keep working on. There's always stuff. Once I get back, a consultation call with somebody I'm working with on marketing. It's coming up this morning. We're in the last week before my birthday. So this weekend we're going out for what are we doing down there? Going out to Over the Hill Orchards, which is an orchard, as it says, out of the city, 20 miles or so, and in the valley. It's very nice out there, and they do in the summer they do dinners on Sunday nights, well, weekend nights. Supper in the orchard, something like that they call it, with various chefs from around the city. So you have some really good meals, and you can sit out on their patio, and they make wine, fruit wine for the most part, but not entirely, and so you can have some of that. Everything is so lush this morning after the rain. At least feels lush. Oh, this place sold. Didn't even know it was for sale. Maybe I did. I do see a 1 beside the YouTube, so it must be working. So very familiar bird call. It smells summery today. It smells like prairie in summer, and those smells you associate as a kid when you're playing outside. That's what I associate them with when we lived out in the country. We weren't farmers, but where I grew up was a former Commonwealth Air Training Command base, North Weyburn. That's where the school was that my dad taught at. In those old military buildings had been taken over by the school. So it was about 4 miles out of town, so You didn't have to wander very far and you're in the prairie. And I did wander quite a bit where I could. You couldn't wander too far. You're in people's farmland and, they don't appreciate you traipsing across their wheat field, but there are opportunities. This garden down here is certainly lusher and greener than when I first took note of it a few walks ago. I can smell it too. It smells like dill, maybe. I hear voices on the other side of the creek over there. Somebody's walking along over there. Oh, there's a blackbird, red-winged blackbird. Chirp. See a lot of them along the creek. When there's bulrushes, they like to sit on the bulrushes. So on the publishing side, my latest book is out now that I've published. What If You Could by Lynn Harley. It's a picture book about a little caterpillar who has to overcome that cold voice of self-doubt in order to become a beautiful butterfly. And a portion of the sales goes to jack.org, which is a youth mental health organization. I'm fulfilling orders now, slowly, off of the Shadow Pop Press website. I have to wait for some stock to come in. I thought I would drop ship directly from the printer, but that only makes sense if there's multiple. Oh look, there's somebody on a punt down there. Going down the creek. Don't see that very often. This is a nice calm morning for it though. And Lynn, the author, is currently biking across Canada. Well, I don't know where she started exactly. Saskatoon, I think. She's biking to Montreal. Several thousand kilometers. 3,000, I think. There you go. Now you can get a good look at the guy punting down the creek. You wouldn't want to fall in the creek. And then if we look the other way, you'll see no punts, but the creek. Again, everything very lush and green. But gray, because the sky has not cleared yet from the rain. I think it was a whole series of thunderstorms that came through one after the other last night. So that little book, What If You Could, the picture book, is available everywhere now. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it on Barnes & Noble, you can get it in German bookstores and Japanese bookstores, or from. They won't have it in stock, but they can order it, or you can get it through their online portal. There is a focus, most authors want to have their books in physical bookstores, and there's something to be said for that, obviously. But the truth is, I think most sales these days happen online. And being in a physical bookstore just doesn't mean you sell books. You're just one of thousands in that space, and only some of them sell. And mostly, unless you're on the bestseller side, they don't even bring in that many copies. So the other thing people don't realize is that publishing is the only industry where retailers buy books at wholesale and can return them for a full refund. So they're called returns in the industry. And they'll go down here this morning. If the waterfall's running. If it's not, I won't bother. Actually, I think it's off. Yeah, for whatever reason, the waterfall's off, so I don't think I'll go down there. Hi, Roger. It's a very damp morning, but very pleasant. Hasn't heated up yet. So with bookstores, supposing as a publisher, you're fortunate enough to get hundreds of books into bookstores, you get all that money because the bookstores pay for it. But the bookstores can send those books back to you, at which point you have to refund a portion of that money. And if you misjudge how many returns there are going to be, or if you're desperate and have already spent the money, that has sent publishers out of business, including a couple that I've worked with over the years. One in particular I think of that called Rusan, that published Andy Nebula, Interstellar Rockstar. Went out of business about 2000 because, or shortly thereafter, because Chapters was in difficulty and returned a whole bunch of books in order to save its bottom line, and in the process, publishers who had not allowed for that possibility, and they hadn't, because it hadn't happened before at that scale, suddenly weren't able to continue. And Rusan, which might have published the sequel, Double Trouble as well, went under. Now the book is available through Shadowpaw Press. It has a terrible cover. I take full blame for that. So I need to redo it and relaunch it. It won't sell a lot of copies, but I like having it out there. And the sequel does exist, and it's never been, well, no, that's not quite true. I had it out as an ebook for a while, but I would publish it too. And that is a series that could continue. And at one point, I was talking to somebody who claimed they were very excited about it and was going to make an animated series out of it. That fell through, and they simply quit communicating, which is par for the course in the film industry. I don't know why. I don't know why they can't. So many people in that industry can't seem to follow basic rules of decency and communication, but it's true. I've heard that from other people. Oh, you're the latest, greatest thing. They're really excited about you, but if the deal falls through, that's it. You never hear from them again. Can't be bothered to, say, oh, well, thank you. Sorry it didn't work out even. It's just, that's it. Well, on to the next thing. Dump the writer. So, and I'm not saying that just because it's me. I have heard that from other people. Green, green, green. The green, green grass of home. Humid. So I'm glad the sun's not out. It might come out before well, probably not, because it's over to my right where all the clouds are. There is blue sky to the west, but it depends on how quick the clouds cross the sky, whether I encounter sun before I get back. I think I'm just going to do a somewhat shorter than I sometimes do on these vlogs. Less than an hour. Got things to do. Tomorrow, of course, will be around the lake, it being Friday. And then on the weekend I'll try to do something more interesting, at least one day, because I'll have a car. Actually, I'll have a car tomorrow, but tomorrow is around the lake day. The other thing I've been waiting to have a car for is that I have a whole bunch of books I need to mail. I might try to do that tomorrow. That's for the Kickstarter. People who have backed at a level where they get some physical books, not of the anthology that I kickstarted this year, but of previous years, or Shadowpaw Press books, that sort of thing. There's some of that. It's a pain, but it has to be done. And I went into it knowing it would be a pain to fulfill, but that's part of running a Kickstarter. And I should have done it already quite a while ago, but it has taken some organizing. And then again, without a car, I can't get all that stuff down to the post office, because it's going to be several packages in their books, so they're not light. Okay, we cross Elphinstone here. There's a boat. big news on the publishing side yesterday was that my publisher in New York, Daw Books, which has been privately held for its entire existence, has been acquired by Astra Publishing, and becomes their science fiction and fantasy imprint, their sole science fiction and fantasy imprint. I think that's good. I haven't talked to Betsy and Sheila, publishers at Daw, but I think that's probably good and opens up some new possibilities. And I hope it's good for those of us who are published by Daw, and I hope I will continue to be published by Daw. I guess I don't know that for sure after the next book, The Tangled Stars, but I hope. Tangled Stars comes out in October and is available for pre-order now. books2read.com/The Tangled Stars. 2 being a numeral. books2read.com/The Tangled Stars. Will point you to multiple places you can pre-order the ebook. It'll be an ebook original. Whether there's print might depend on how well the ebook sells. And if there was enough ebook sales, probably a print edition would be forthcoming. I don't know that for sure. Meanwhile, I keep working on this YA book. I'll be doing that as soon as I get back. Trying to prioritize it so it's the first thing I work on every day before I get into all the other stuff I'm working on. Creek looks pretty high. Usually is after rain. Higher, noticeably higher. Not that I've been along here for a while, so I can't really say. And memory is faulty, of course. Unreliable. That's why we never really know what the weather's like compared to a previous year. Oh, it's never been like this before. And then you look at the records and, well, yes it has. It's been much hotter than this, or much colder than this, or much wetter than this, or much drier than this. It's very rare. Obviously it happens probably almost once a year that you get some sort of record set, but any specific day, the odds are there's nothing that unusual about it if you look far enough back in the history. Oh, there's the sun breaking through a little bit up there. Yes, the creek definitely looks high. I don't think I'm making that up. Ducks. And then let's look the other way. Yes, it is high. Higher than sometimes. Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more. That's for all you Supernatural fans out there. I could go on, but I won't. Uh-oh. The sprinklers are going. Well, that'll make this next little stretch problematic, as they say. It's all right if they're moving. If they're frozen, it makes it harder to go around without at least getting your feet wet, because the grass is wet too. I think they're not moving. No, they're just sitting there. No, it's moving. Okay. At least that one is. I'm not sure about the one past that, though. The next one looks like it's just sitting there spraying across the those two are getting out of the way. I don't know how quick they come back though, so let's get past them while we can. See any rainbows? Not enough sun, I guess. This one is clearly stuck. So I will have to go through the wet grass. The other one's coming back, but I got through without getting overly wet. Thought I'd look and see if I could see a rainbow in that, but at the wrong angle. They're enjoying the wet grass, or at least the dogs are. I don't know about the people. Once I rose above the noise and confusion. No, stop that. It's an earworm. There's the moss growing, and that is not the north side of the tree, so you can't rely on that. That's the wet side of the tree, I would say. It's probably the side that gets hit by sprinklers. Not that I'm going to get lost on the path. I don't need to know which way is north, although I do. It's to my right. We're walking west at the moment, more or less. Path does curve, so it's hard to be 100% sure. It's a lovely smell this morning with the grass and the wet. It smells rich and growing and alive. I'm alive, I'm not growing, and I'm not rich, so, 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
Hello there.
Morning. Around the curve, another curve. There's always a puddle here. If there's going to be a puddle anywhere, it's a low point. In the spring, this is where I often had to go way out of my way to try to avoid the puddle. Usually failed. Felt pleasantly cool, but as the sun starts to come out, it's feeling quite a bit warmer, and of course the walking makes it feel warmer too, in the humidity, so it does feel a bit warm. Probably going to be very humid and hot this afternoon. First thing we did when we moved into our old house was put in central air conditioning. If I was going to work at home, I wasn't going to put up with hot days at my computer, so. Morning. Yeah, the creek's very high. Right up here is where the creek will flood in the spring. It's spread out quite a bit through this low point right here, right after snow melt. For a minute, that was a thin ice sign, but I think it was a pesticide spraying sign floating on the creek. Maybe I'll go just the other side and come up on the other side of the street, just for variation. This is the Pasqua Street Bridge. As high as I thought. I've certainly seen it a lot closer to the edge. It is higher than the last time I came this way. Wouldn't take this path, which floods in the spring for sure. There's a bird sitting right there waiting for us to. Goodbye. So I'm not going to walk down to the next bridge. I'll turn and take the path up here to the street. But the next bridge up would be the Louvain Bridge, and the airport is over in that direction. Louvain is a faster north-south route. We'll go this way because it's nice and graveled and won't get my feet wet. Or muddy. Too muddy, if I'm careful anyway. I'll go ahead and cross back to the other side. That's Saskatchewan Express over there. It's an old school where that performing arts company is based. They tour the province in the summer. I presume they're doing that this summer. They haven't for a couple of years, but they also do occasional full-scale productions at Christmas time. They've done a few. Regina Lyric Musical Theatre that I'm involved with used their space for Putnam 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee production, which was very appropriate because it's a school spelling bee is the whole setting, and of course this was in school gymnasium, their auditorium, so it was a really appropriate setting. Good production too, even though I wasn't in it. Very good. And I rehearsed in there before it was Saskatchewan Express, but it was no longer school, it was just empty. When we were doing the Fantastics with Thai production, we rehearsed in there a bit. The director of that production was a bit of a menace. Rehearsed us way too long. It was, amateur, so it wasn't. If it had been a union production, she couldn't have done that. I think our pianist actually suffered some repetitive strain injury from the length of the rehearsals. And I remember her trying to convince me that I should move to Winnipeg for a performing arts career. And even at the time I thought, Winnipeg? It's possible she was hitting on me, but that seemed unbelievable to me at the time, but in retrospect, it's perhaps quite believable. I was at my skinniest at the time. Anyway, there was no chance I was moving to Winnipeg to try to make it in the theater. If you can make it there, well, yeah, it doesn't work like New York, New York. If you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere. It doesn't really apply to Winnipeg. Fine city, don't get me wrong. Shame about their football team, but fine city. First time I went to Worldcon was in Winnipeg, World Science Fiction Convention, 1994. Ah, yes, I remember it well. Anne McCaffrey was one of the guests of honor. I remember that. I don't remember who else was, but I remember Anne McCaffrey. I wasn't a DAW author. I was barely a published author, but I was a full-time writer, freelancer. And I guess I'd had, a few short stories published by then. Ah, it's a pile of mud. I don't think I went to another Worldcon probably until Chicago in 2000, was it? Have to look somewhere along in there, because by then I was married. Oh no. Oh, oh, it all runs together. And I haven't been to one now for years because of COVID, and there is one happening this year, but I'm not going. Little Fantasies in New Orleans. Not going to that either. I am, however, going to CanCon in Ottawa in mid-October. Coincides very well with the release of The Tangled Stars, for one thing, and the release of books through Shadowpaw Press. So, although those are not science fiction and fantasy, it'll still be an opportunity to talk about them and hopefully plug them. I'm going to get wet up here if I continue, so I'll cross to the other side of the street. I was planning to walk down 15th anyway today. I think I'm going to get sprayed even on this side of the street, the way that mist is going across the road. So normally I would walk over there, but today we'll go straight this way into the cathedral neighborhood. Yep, I can feel the spray from the sprinklers. So either I cross back over and go that way, which I suppose at least would take me back along the creek, or I go up here. Yeah, maybe I will cross. Go back this way. Go along the dike instead of what I was thinking of doing. Past the Neil Balkwell Civic Arts Center, home to the little art gallery of Regina, and a place where they offer art classes, things like that. They used to have a photographic darkroom. I wonder if they still have it. Hardly anybody learns that anymore, how to develop film. Used to learn it in school, but I doubt that's a skill they teach in what we would have called a shop class anymore. Was my favorite part, and came in handy then when I became a newspaper reporter, because we were still using film and I had to develop multiple rolls of film every week and print photos at the Weyburn Review. Somewhere I still have my darkroom equipment. When I left, I actually bought the old Review enlarger because they had a new one. And I thought I'd, set up a home darkroom, which where I was living to begin with wouldn't have been a problem because it was a windowless bathroom, so not a problem at all to make it light tight. But I never did, really. And then digital came along and it became moot. I'm sure artistic photographers still use film sometimes. But I haven't shot a roll of film for a very long time now. Playground. I think I could probably still summon up the muscle memory though to load a reel inside its little black bag. You didn't even have to have a dark room. We had these little light tight bags. You put your canister with the reel inside there and you could work at least in some light. I think probably we mostly did it in the dark room with the safety light on. But of course film is modern film is sensitive to red light, and so you only use the safety light, and it's more typically yellowy orange anyway. These ones we used were for the print. The print paper wasn't sensitive to it, but the film would have been. So you had to do the film in total darkness. And it was easier to do it inside a light tight bag than in an entire room of total darkness, I suppose. So you had to do it all by feel. Pop open the film canister, take out the film, thread it into the reel, which is a spiral contraption, not concoction. Thread it on there. The different reels work different ways. Put it inside the canister, make sure it was closed, then you could take it out, put in the chemicals. I have to double check the time. Developer, fixer, stop bath, rinse, dry, print. On the printing side, although I learned how to print putting paper into trays one after the other, developer, stop bath, fixer. We actually used something called stabilization processing, which was a machine that you fed the print in on one side, it came out the other side with the image on it, but it wasn't a permanent print. If you wanted to make it permanent, you had to run it through Fixer. It was just stabilized, and for newspaper use that was good enough because we would use the picture that week, us being a weekly, and then it would didn't matter, it went into file folders. You pull out the old ones, they were often a bit yellowed. If you left them out in the light, they turned quite substantially yellow. But we had all the negatives on file, so if you needed a fresh print, it was easy enough to pull out the negative and make a fresh print anyway. And we almost never needed a fresh print. The only time those pictures came out was if you were doing some sort of retrospective feature. But part of the task each week was to file that week's photos. We had little cards with topics and we'd write them down because we had a computer, but it was just a typesetting computer. We didn't have any desktop computers we were using for anything like filing or anything like that. The old days. We were actually quite advanced with our computer typesetting system, but I remember doing school tours and showing this box, which is like the size of, it's bigger than a microwave, maybe two microwaves put together back to back, and saying, yes, this is our hard drive. You might have a computer at home and you get probably for the big floppies, what was it, 640 bytes of 640 kilobytes, I guess, of storage on one of those big floppies. I'd say, well, on this we get 20 megabytes of storage on this thing the size of two microwaves stuck together. And we got a backup one too, so we had two of them. I was able to impress the kids with that. These days, of course, well, the phone I'm shooting on here has, and I even didn't go for as much memory as I could have gotten on it. I think it's 250 gigabytes on this one. I don't think it's even 512. I think it's 256. Yep. It's quite amazing, really. Once you live long enough, you do see a lot of changes technologically anyway. Politically, it's the same old stupidity with different clothes and names, but technologically, things change. So let me think, where shall I go down this time? Do I go to the stairs? Or do I maybe take this? I think I'll take this path up here. Not this one because it backtracks, but the next one. This is all floodplain, really. That's why nobody's built on it. But thanks to this dike, which was built, I think, in the early 80s or late 70s, the Wascana does not flood this neighborhood like it once did. They're pulling up weeds. City employees. There's a dog in my path. I don't know what he's looking at. Hello. Is there something interesting over there?
Not really, just enjoying it.
Let me think. I think I'll go this way. This is Garnet Street. I used to live down on the next block when I first moved to this neighborhood back in the 80s. Did I live here in the 80s? I might not have moved here till about 1990 because I lived in an apartment up in the northwest, closer to where I was walking when I was up there on Sunday, was it? When I first moved to town. But it wasn't there too long when this house came up for rent, and I drove down this way to look at it and thought, wow, I'd love to live in this neighborhood. And I've been here ever since. Because I would give Margaret Ann a ride to lyric meetings, and we fell in love, we got married, and her house, of course, is the one we live in now. Oh, there goes a snowshoe hare, or a rabbit. One or the other. There he is. I think that's a hare. I often see them in this little patch of grass. And we'll take this here alleyway over to Angus Crescent, which is my crescent, not my personal crescent. So we had some hope our deck might be built by this weekend, but after the rain last night, I don't think they'll be working. Too muddy back there. It's been a fairly wet year. He said at some point concrete has to be poured, and he said the concrete guy is backed up because he can't work when it's wet, and it's been wet. Which is why everything is so lush. There's even a fountain over there, I just realized. Alrighty, so getting close to home. Usually walk down the other side, so I'll walk down this side. And it's a start to catch up the dog walker. There's one for sale if you're looking, older one. I think it's been for sale for a while. Oops, come back. It's the dangling cord that confuses the gimbal. I think I will change sides. Probably what I need to do is attach it to the, maybe that would work. You have to have enough slack, that's all. It's the former Tommy Douglas house, former premier. I've been in it. It's bigger than it looks because it goes way back. There's a swimming pool, an indoor swimming pool at the back of it, which I don't think was built there when Tommy was premier, but it's there now. That's a nice house over there I've been in. Probably been in others of these on home tours, but I don't remember all of them I've been in. It's been a while since went on one of those. Hello, Sanjay. Coming in late here. I'm about to quit. Just on this corner up here. But you can go back and watch it. Must be the middle of the night in India. So thank you for joining me. Sorry I'm about to quit, but you can go back and watch the whole thing right away. And it'll also be posted later. Not in live, but just what's recorded on the phone. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me, and bye.